Where does, if I was to, like, have this piece of paper
Your
to,
laptop.
Yeah, that's fine.
all right,
Yeah,
I didn't know if it showed or
yeah,
not.
it's just right below your patch there.
Perfect.
Okay. My first question is, who are you and what's your relationship with the Fredericksburg Rescue Squad?
So I'm Troy Dillard. I'm a life member of Fredericksburg Rescue Squad. I sat on the Board of Trustees and the foundation. I joined at the age of 15 in 1979 as a junior member, and in 1982, when I turned 18, I became a senior member.
Why did you want to join this organization?
So I have an older brother that started ahead of me. He's 4 years ahead, Kevin. And I used to, I guess when he joined at 15, I was only 11. So I used to be at home and have training sessions where members from Spotsylvania Rescue Squad would actually come to our home and train my brother, and I guess at that time was advanced first aid. So I think watching them grew my interest, and then seeing my older brother be active and actually kind of watching him go on calls and maybe probably go on a call or two. When I was younger, I knew when I turned 15 that I wanted to be part of this, and knowing some of the members before I joined.
When was your first call? Were you 18 or was it before that? When you were first-
So my first call was probably at 14 or 15, and it was actually a head-on collision in Spotsylvania County, and it was a very severe call, and all I did at that time was hold a flashlight. So it was interesting. My brother said, "Here, hold the light. Don't get in anyone's way." And at the end of the call, he kind of explained to me how many people were injured and what was what. And it made the local paper, and I think I have a picture of me holding a flashlight in the background. So that was my first call unofficially without being a member. And then at age 15, after that, I went on quite a few calls. But as a junior member, you weren't allowed to go on any violence call or OB calls. May have been one or two others, but if you happened to be on the truck when the call came in, you would just stay on the truck for safety reasons.
Can you put the paper down?
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just a little crinkly. But I wouldn't change a thing about how you are, other than that. So tell me.
Oh, Lord.
Let's
Sorry.
No, you're perfect. Let's go back to 14, because seeing a head-on collision, seeing blood, seeing people hurt, that might, most 14-year-olds would turn and run the other way, but you didn't. Why'd you keep, I mean,
I think being prepared of watching them train in our living room floor, to watch them put on simulated bandages and stuff. And so I guess mentally I was somewhat prepared. I don't remember. I know the books, some of them have a few graphic pictures in them. So I guess I was prepared because of that, and then maybe to see things actually be put to use. So to see the bandaging, to see the backboards being used, to see all the fire and rescue units come in, I guess that really piqued my interest to know, hey, this is pretty cool.
So you've been here for quite a long time.
42 years.
42 years. Why so? I mean, why so long? I mean, it's a good organization, good people. Why have you stuck around so much?
It's both the organization and the people. I made a list of names before I came just so I wouldn't forget any. But now that I'm older, I'm hoping that I can be the mentor to some of the newer, younger members that the members were to me. So the things they taught me, the patience they had with me, I'm hoping now that I'm older and more seasoned, I can help answer questions or help younger members to make a career out of it also.
2021, you started in 1979. What was it like back then? I mean, I've heard, oh yeah, we had these makeshift ambulances, we were in a bread truck, we were in an old hearse or whatever.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about what it was like to run calls back then.
So the units obviously were much more basic. I think most of the people, advanced first aid was a standard. So to become an EMT or emergency medical technician, you were one of the higher ups at the time. Of course, they had cardiac techs, and you always had a few more advanced. But the vehicles were very basic. It would be whatever you could do to bandage and control the bleeding and get someone to the hospital as quickly as possible. You had your radio that you'd call in on, but that was before cell phones. We covered a much larger area, where now we just cover the city of Fredericksburg. Back then we covered Stafford County, Spotsylvania County, so we had some longer runs. But probably more van type ambulances back then, less headroom. You couldn't stand up like you can in the ones today. So
It takes some dedication, because you're volunteering, but it's not like volunteering a couple hours a week, say, at the hospital. This is more than a couple hours a week. So talk about the dedication that you had to have.
So, I think it just becomes a passion. It gets in your blood. So you are putting in long hours. It could be anywhere from a short 4-hour shift to an overnight shift. I used to be a regular staying every Sunday night overnight, so I'd get here in the evenings. Started out doing that as a junior member, and then would stay all night, leave early morning on Mondays. And then some weekend duties, but it was fun. So you were around a group of friends, you went on interesting calls. So sometimes it gave you an excuse to leave the house and not do the other chores maybe your parents wanted you to do. Instead of cutting wood or cutting the grass, you were here having fun, going on rescue calls. But it's in your blood, and it's something you enjoy doing, and it feels great to help other people.
Does it take us, are you wired differently? Does it take a special person to do what you and so many others have done with the rescue squad?
I think it takes a special person to an extent, but I think any person with a good heart that's willing to help others can do it. As long as you have the stomach for it, and you don't get overly nervous, don't overthink it. You realize at the end of the day you're doing the best that you can do to help other people. And, you're going to make mistakes along the way, but you have to think of all the people you save, and even probably in the instance that you made a mistake, that overall at the end of the day that person is still better off than if you didn't go at all or didn't help them.
Awesome. Doing great. Thank you. This is a tight group of people. I've heard people say it's like a family here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's so neat to have, I love that we're doing this interview because, when the people go, the stories go with them. So it's really neat. I remember back sitting here between calls when the older members would come in, and I just really enjoyed hearing the stories before my time. I remember when the building was a little bit smaller, we didn't have the bay that we have now that the units are in. So most of the units were on the floor below where we are now. And we had a very small control room where the actual calls would come in, and we'd listen to the fire department answer those calls, but it had very limited seating, so it may be only 3 people at the building, but when a senior member would come in or someone with more tenure, you knew that you would get up and allow them to come in and have a seat. And it was just a pride, and looking up to the other members, and hoping or realizing one day you would be in that position. But yeah, it's I've met some wonderful people that are, friends, lifelong friends. So,
what is this place, this group of people, this organization meant to this community?
I'm sure it's immeasurable. Obviously, the fire department has 3 or 2 fully staffed stations, soon to be 3, but they know and we know they still could not do it without the volunteers. So the assistance we give them, and if it's any, we've had a bus accident here, we've had some train accidents, God forbid if there was a plane accident, any mass casualty, any weapons of mass destruction. Now we have the ball field stadium that has thousands of people at any given time. So you would absolutely need the volunteers in those cases. And then for fun times like the fair that's coming up next month, just to stand by for those large crowds, and we've done a lot of good things at those events.
I would imagine when you weren't running calls, you were also trying to keep the doors open and keep the equipment fresh and keep it working by fundraising, which is, nobody really likes that, but you guys did it. You guys became pretty good at it too. Maybe talk about the fundraising aspect of it. You guys did lots of stuff and do lots of stuff.
Yeah, so we would always receive checks as citizens would die. They'd be kind enough to remember the rescue squad or remember when we helped that loved one in need. So we'd receive sometimes checks that way. But once a year, we'd have our fun drive or our fish net drive, and we'd stand out there with fishing nets. And it's kind of cute. We kind of figured out the game sometimes if you put a little seed money in there when other vehicles would come by, or in cases, I think one time we were actually doing it at the mall. We'd have one of our members in a vehicle. He would take some of the larger dollar bills, and he would drive real slow and get a line of vehicles behind him, and then he'd pull up and throw the money in. And while he was sitting there, the ones behind him like, oh yeah, I guess I should give some also. So we kind of had fun with that. But yeah, that was once a year that we'd do that for like a long weekend and get out there and collect funds.
Did the community come together? I mean, did the community rise to the occasion to support you?
They did. They were always receptive. You'd get the thank yous, and yeah, it ended up being a positive event every year. So it was a good single source of income when we did that.
Are there any calls that stand out? Obviously, your first one, you always remember your first one, I'm sure. Are there any calls that stood out for good or bad that will always stick with you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the bad calls stick with you the longest. I remember a funny story that when I started as a junior member, the two senior members that I would ride with, so a junior would have to be the third. So you had your driver, your AIC or attendant in charge, and your junior would be the third. So when I turned 18, I became a senior member. That Sunday night when I went to stay, the other two senior members were there, and about 9 p.m., the gentleman that used to be in charge of the patients, he started walking to his car and he was leaving, and I was like, Benny, where are you going? He's like, I'm going home. And I'm like, it's only 9 o'clock, we have duty all night. And he said, you're in charge now, you're a senior. And I'm like, really? And so he said, but I make one prediction, Troy. He said, you're either going to have a major fire or a major accident. And I was like, thanks, So in the rescue world, you don't say, have a quiet night. And they're like, oh, they said that word. So ironically, I guess about 10:30 that night, we had a structure fire in Stafford County, and it was a mobile home, and it was fully involved, and it was lost. And I was like, wow, he predicted it. And before we cleared from that call, we were towed for a head-on collision, Route 1 in Stafford, and I get there, and there's a pickup truck on a van on its side, a pickup truck. It was a fatality in both vehicles. Both patients were trapped, but I did have one viable patient in the van, so we extricated him. The roadway was shut down all night long. At that time, we all wore white coveralls, so by the end of that shift, the coveralls weren't so white anymore, but yeah, so that one really sticks out in my mind that he kind of called it, and he was right on both accounts. So that sticks with me forever. And to have such a severe call, being in charge of the patient or patients, I guess fortunately for me, logistically, I only had one patient that I had to care for. But that's the biggest one that sticks in my mind. And then we've had some saves over the years. Some couple CPRs that we brought people back, but that's few and far between.
Service to the community, are you proud of it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I get thanked on a regular basis. I had a neighbor 2 nights ago that fell off a ladder that the rescue squad was called for. It wasn't in this locality, but it was still my neighbor, so I went over there, and they thought I was on duty because I just attended a fire class, and they're like, we're so glad you're on duty. And my wife said, they didn't realize you weren't on duty, you just came over. But it felt so good to help him, and he was so grateful. And then when I called to check on him the next day, he spent a half an hour of saying how wonderful it is that myself and my 2 sons volunteer and do this. So, it makes you feel good. You don't do it for that reason, but, when you slow down and take a breath, it's nice to see how grateful people are that you do it.
So it's a family affair for you then?
So it is. So my older brother is still in it. He created a very successful business out of it, a medical transport business, but he still volunteers. And then my oldest son is only 20. He's very active with another agency. And then my youngest son, who's 18, he's in an EMT program now, and he just joined another agency 2 months ago. So,
what do you want the community to know about this organization?
I want us to always be the great agency that we've been known for prior to me joining. I know when I joined and the first few years that I was here, this was the premier agency that all the other agencies looked up to. So when you went to a state event or a regional event, it made me feel very proud to have the Fredericksburg shirt on because other members wanted to be members of this organization. So and to be in this room and see the pictures of all the captains and people that have came before me, it's just it's a good feeling.
What else, Steve? It's great.
Oh,
Got something?
you mentioned being on the board of the foundation, but for SWAD, what other offices have you
Okay.
Yeah, you look right here.
All right, so there was two things that I'd never done with this organization, and I guess it's never too late. But Samuel E. Perry Award, that's the ultimate award that a member can be awarded, and it's so prestigious. It's not even given out every year anymore. It's given out to individuals who go well above and beyond. So I've received several local JC's awards and other awards, but I never received the Samuel E. Perry, which the people who receive it now, he's no longer living or a member, so I make sure, and I think other members do, to make a point to let them know, I guess, how much that award means and how wonderful it is to receive that. But as far as offices being held with the agency, I think it would have been neat to be president or chief at one time, but I think that ship has sailed. But I served as a sergeant for many years. We used to have a crash truck. So I used to be in charge of that at one point in time. I was on the dive water rescue team and swift water rescue. We used to have boats. So we had some really neat toys and equipment years ago that I still have fond memories of.
You're currently still a member of the board.
Yeah, I think I said earlier at the very beginning, member of the foundation and the board of trustees or board of directors.
So there's no shaking you. You're going to be around.
Yep, I hope to be here forever. Like I say, if minimally, if I can help on the board level, but I still try to attend funerals. The fair is a big thing, and maybe one day I keep my accreditation up. I actually have just received my advanced EMT national certification, so I'd like to be released at that level here one day to where I can do IVs and give back and run some more shifts. So I think maybe when things calm down for me and I work less and less at my full-time job, maybe I can come back and run calls again on a regular basis. So that'd be fun.
You're still young and spry.
Still young enough.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, it's probably best that I don't say individual names, but, there's so many members older than myself that, I just think of the names, look at the pictures, some still here, some not, but, what they meant to me over the years. And like say, if I can take a part of that and give back to another generation or younger members, that's something I want to do and help others.
Anything else, Steve? Great job.